only as
This meeting is being recorded.
not only as caregivers, but also as change makers. We are bringing our unique voices grounded in HES, so humanity, ethics, social justice, and science.
So when we talk about our recommendation, it's time to act, it's time to organize, time to lead, and not just for our profession, but for our communities we serve.
So our policy priorities are very clear. We could go to the next slide. That is to expand access and protect Medicare and Medicaid, strengthen primary, preventative, and community-based care, support a safe, well-resourced, and representative of workforce, and then promote a healthy planet as essential to public health.
So nurses are present at life's most critical moments. We witness the impact of poor policy, and we have the power and the responsibility to shape a healthier, more just future. Next slide.
Please join our network if you haven't already. We invite you to join the Nurses Shift Change Action Network at nursesshiftchange.org. You'll find tools, updates, and really ways that you can stay engaged beyond tonight's rally. Next slide.
And this is just the beginning. We're building towards something big. The Million Nurses Rally on Saturday, May 7th, 2026 in Washington, D.C., with satellite rallies to be confirmed across the country.
We are calling on nurses from every state, every specialty, and every setting to really show up, speak out, and shift the system. Next slide.
The purpose of this rally is to reignite the movement and recommit to the work, to call on Congress to pass real democracy protections and defend our right to vote, to protest, and to live with dignity.
We're also here to educate, organize, and activate one another as nurse leaders. We are not only witnessing, this injustice, but we are building better solutions. Next slide.
The 2026 midterm elections will shape the future of healthcare and justice in this country. Every House seat is up for election. 35 Senate seats, 39 governorships, dozens of ballot measures. Control of Congress hangs in the balance. Next slide.
These are not just political races, they are health policy decisions that will impact every single patient that we serve. And that's why we're organizing right now. Next slide.
But can we just pause for the cause of the
Oh, sure. Yes, yes.
of the
Danielle,
rally? I
yes.
don't know if
Go
you all
ahead.
can see. So, and I guess I'll just jump in here if that's okay.
Yes.
So the catalyst for this rally is that there's a nationwide rally going on today in honor of John Lewis. And so, who is John Lewis? Everyone has heard his famous phrase, good in good trouble, good necessary trouble. He's a congressman, activist, leader, and we have Dr. Vivian Pierce McDaniel here, who's had the honor and pleasure of meeting and interacting and knowing him as a person, as a leader, as an advocate. And so she'll be sharing more about her personal relationship with him, but also just want to take a moment to play this sound clip as well.
My philosophy is very simple. When you see something that is not right, not fair, not just, say something, do something, get in trouble, good trouble, necessary trouble.
He was always different than every member of Congress. Everybody knew what he had done. He was John Lewis.
We're marching today to dramatize to the world that hundreds and thousands of Negro citizens denied the right to vote.
Congressman Lewis gave us the blueprint to organize and to legislate.
The reason why he's effective as a leader is because he's lived it.
We made a decision to march in an orderly, peaceful, nonviolent fashion from Selma to Montgomery.
You are ordered to disperse. This march will not continue.
I was hit in the head My knees went from under me. I thought I was going to down the bridge.
If John Lewis, as a 19, 20-year-old, wasn't doing what he did, I would not be here.
We will march with the spirit of love and with the spirit of dignity that we have shown here today.
The whole time he was in the movement, it was frightening, knowing the danger, knowing what could happen.
You cannot replace a John Lewis.
He's the most courageous person I ever met.
Too many people struggled and died to make it possible for every American to exercise their right to vote.
He challenges the conscience of the Congress.
Bring common sense gun control legislation to the House floor.
40 years later, John Lewis continues to inspire us.
Are you with me? Let me hear you. 3 civil rights workers that were murdered for trying to help people get registered to vote are looking down on us.
This is a time for action. That's what I learned from John Lewis.
There are forces in America today want to take us back, but we're not going back. We're going forward.
I also just want to invite people for just a moment of celebration of a trailblazer that has paved the way and given us the blueprint to be able to gather and rally and really push the envelope, because we all recognize it is time to get into some good necessary trouble. So fill the chat with some hearts, with some emojis. We're not doing a moment of silence, but a moment of celebration of a amazing man, amazing life, and amazing legacy that he has left for us to be able to honor and also push the work further and recognize that, yes, we're living some hard times, but we're not out here getting beat, bashed, and sprayed, bones broken, knock on wood, that we're not going back that far, but just honor and recognize his contributions for us to be able to be here in this moment. So fill up the chat, lots of love, celebration, and gratitude for his bravery and recognition of his service.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. McCamey, for sharing the clip on why we're here. Today does mark, 5 years since the passing of Congressman John Lewis. And we know that he was a civil rights legend whose life really does remind us that democracy is not a given, it's a practice. And I think that's why we're all here. It's time that we speak up and we stand firm, and to make good trouble, necessary trouble, to challenge the injustice that we're seeing.
Next slide. So again, we're gathering in the honor and in his spirit because we're living through a time of deep political, social, and healthcare crisis. Across the country, we know that communities are facing a decline in health outcomes, environmental threats, disinformation, disenfranchisement, and growing pressure on essential systems. And once again, it's nurses who are stepping forward. We're also calling for passage of the John Lewis Voting Rights Advancement Act, introduced as H.R. 14. It would restore federal oversight of voting law changes, expand protections for voters, and increase transparency in our elections.
So the bill has stalled in Congress, and with GOP-controlled House, this fight really is going to require every ounce of our organizing power. So now is the time to contact your representative and follow its progress and support this grassroots voting rights groups on what we can do.
So during tonight's rally, take a moment to look up your members of Congress at congress.gov/members/find-your-member, and then sign up for 5cause.org to take weekly action. Share your LinkedIn in the chat to stay connected with fellow advocates, and RSVP for the Million Nurse Rally at nurseshiftchange.org. And of course, use the hashtags to, spread our message.
We can go to the next slide.
But also want to just
Mhm.
jump in here to challenge everyone to put your members of Congress in the chat so we can see that you're aware. And if you're not aware, look it up and put it in the chat so we know who's repping y'all.
Other immediate steps that we can take right now, tonight is to check and update your voter registration at vote.gov. And then you can also review your complete ballot at ballotpedia.org or vote411.org. You can volunteer as a poll worker. You can drive your neighbors to the polls, and you can actually just text 3 people and make sure that they're registered. So, individuals in your family, friends, just do that part.
Next slide. This isn't just civic duty, it's public health advocacy.
And with nurses shift change, we are reclaiming our power, not just in policy, but in purpose. We're here because we know that change begins when we show up, when we actually speak out, and when we stand together.
Next slide. So Congressman Lewis once said, "Never ever be afraid to make some noise and get in good trouble, necessary trouble. Let's honor him, not with silence, but with strategy." Next slide.
I think we're towards the end now. It's really an honor to begin this program with a grounding from a visionary nurse leader. We've kind of already heard from her, but Celia, do you want to introduce her?
Yeah. So she's the founder of DNPs of Color, a national advocate for equity in health leadership, co-leader of Nurse Shift Change, and someone who is reshaping the future of our profession. That's the end of the slides. So go ahead, Gloria. So please join us in welcoming Dr. Danielle McCamey.
Thank you.
Hey, y'all. I wasn't expecting to be on the mic tonight, but thank you all for being here. And thank you, Celia and Gloria, for setting us off for our rally tonight. I do want to start off with our chat and our chant. And I know on Zoom, chant is kind of like weird. There's like a weird echo, but I'm going to say it with you. You can say it with me, but this is our chant. We are nurses. We are the shift. We are nurses, shift change. We are nurses. We are the shift. We are nurses, shift change. So hopefully that will ring in your head, and it's hard for us to say it together, but I know that you're all saying it together in spirit with us. But I do want to stop sharing the screen and open up for our speakers to well, what am I supposed to be doing, Hess? I feel like we went through everything around shift change, but for me, just wanting to bring everybody together to really mobilize the heart and soul of nursing and the collective power that we do have, and also just to shake the profession like this is our time, this is our moment. And I really feel like we're beginning that spark with Nurses Shift Change. Why this group versus any other group? Because it's grassroots. There's not any bureaucracy, red tape, defined leadership. It's people that are bound by our mission, our purpose for nursing, and also our ethics, which is why our values are humanity, ethics, social justice, and science. And so the spirit of tonight's rally, again, honoring John Lewis, but also recognizing we need to flip those seats come midterm 2026. And how fitting that John Lewis, one of his main advocacy was around voting. And so definitely want to have us not be despaired or discouraged. There is, opportunity for us to make some substantive change. And so we just have to keep pressing forward. And so we're looking at 2026 midterms. And that's all I have. I'm going to just pass the mic back to Gloria and Celia.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll make sure that I'm unmuted. Thank you for grounding us in the values that really guide this movement. It is my pleasure to introduce our first featured speaker, Dr. Justin Gill. He is the president of the Washington State Nurses Association, a national policy expert and a powerful voice for nurse-led advocacy. His topic tonight is policy advocacy and the role of the nurse voice in 2025. Justin?
Thank you so much, Gloria. Good evening, everyone, and thank you for everybody that is joining tonight. We all are busy right now, and taking time out of your day to really kind of reset, reassess, where we're at right now and strategize moving forward. That shows your commitment. We have a lot of work to do, and I think this is the first of many rallies to be able to advocate for our patients. And so it's really a pleasure to join you all on an important occasion, Good Trouble Thursday, which is a day that really calls each of us to reflect the powerful legacy of Congressman John Lewis and the kind of bold, necessary disruption he called, quote, good trouble, necessary trouble. As nurses, we're not just caregivers at the bedside. We're advocates, we're educators, we're protectors of public health, and defenders of human dignity. In times of crisis, and let me be clear, we are living in a crisis of our own, we're also called to be truth tellers and justice seekers. Today, I want to talk about what it means to cause good trouble as a nurse and why we must do so. I also want to remind all of us, about the important connection between policy, politics, and nursing. So John Lewis taught us about that making good trouble is a moral imperative when systems fail to protect the vulnerable. He marched in Selma, bled on the Edmund Pettus Bridge, and sat on the floor of Congress demanding action on gun violence. He didn't do it to be liked. He did it because silence in the face of injustice is a form of complicity. We as nurses know injustice when we see it. We see it when patients ration their insulin because they can't afford it. We see it when ICE agents enter healthcare facilities trying to access patient information or detain a patient without a warrant, and nurses are there in the middle. We see it when Black women die in childbirth at rates 3 to 4 times higher than white women. We see it when hospitals close in rural areas, when our LGBTQ plus patients are denied gender-affirming care, and when undocumented families are too afraid to seek medical treatment. We also see it when lawmakers push policies that politicize public health, threaten reproductive freedom, and undercut our profession. In these moments, if we're silent, then we're part of the problem. But if we stand up, speak out, and disrupt the status quo together, then we are doing what John Lewis called us to do. We are causing what he called good trouble. Now, we are not working in a vacuum. The current political climate is hostile to science, hostile to equity, and increasingly hostile to even the truth. Across the country, we're witnessing attacks on evidence-based care, from bans on gender-affirming care to restrictions on reproductive health, legislation that criminalizes providers, making it dangerous for nurses and doctors to do our job, chronic underfunding of public health, which we know contributes to the crises we face every day, rising overdoses, mental health emergencies, and the spread of preventable diseases. Book bans and curriculum restrictions that silence the history of injustice and health disparities we must teach to prepare the next generation of nurses. These are not just policy debates. These are life and death issues. They're moral issues. And let's be clear, nurses did not sign up to be politicians when it comes to our patients, but we did take an oath to protect our patients, to advocate for the vulnerable, and to uphold human dignity. When laws and policies threaten those values directly, we must act, and we must make good trouble. So what does that look like for us? It looks like showing up to testify at your state house, at a local city council meeting, or online in a meeting with your member of Congress, to rally at these events, to educate our communities. It looks like speaking up when our colleagues are silent, when our leaders are wrong, or when our patients are being harmed. It looks like organizing through our associations, grassroots groups, unions, and our communities to demand change. It looks like running for office, like some of us have done, or holding elected officials accountable when they ignore the voices of healthcare workers. And let me be clear, Nurses, we need more of them in office at every level. But it's also important that those nurses bring those values with them, not just to be elected, but to be elected to bring those values to policy. It looks like we also refuse to be political pawns while being trusted with the lives of our patients every single day. And this isn't about being partisan. It's about being principled, because patient safety is not a partisan issue. Access to care is not a partisan issue. Science, compassion, and human dignity are not partisan. They're the bedrock of our profession. And when they're threatened, we are obligated, not just allowed, but obligated to act. It'll take the work of some courage, take a lot of work and courage to advocate during these times. John Lewis was jailed over 40 times. He was beaten, tear gassed, and vilified. Nurses who speak out may face some level of retaliation, but let me ask you, what is the cost of our silence? How many more children have to die from preventable disease? How many more mothers must we lose? How many more nurses must burn out and leave the profession before we say enough is enough? Courage is not the absence of fear. It is doing the right thing in spite of it. And that is something nurses understand deeply. Because we are the ones that have held the hand of the dying when no one else would. We have stood up to administrators when unsafe staffing threatened lives. We have marched in the streets demanding PPE, respect, and justice. So don't let anybody tell you that nurses should just stay in our lane. Our lane is wherever our patients need us most. And right now, that includes the halls of power. So what do we do from here? We organize, we educate, we speak up, we vote, we run for office when we can, we protect our patients and each other. We channel John Lewis and let his legacy live on. And we get in some good trouble. This year, as we face another election, another legislative session, another battle over science and humanity, let's not be passive observers. Let's be active participants in bending the arc of our healthcare system toward justice. Because when nurses show up, things change. When we speak up, people listen. And when we refuse to be silent, when we cause good trouble, we honor not only the legacy of John Lewis, but the sacred trust our patients place in us every single day. I think back to my own patient stories that have been impacted by policies that have been implemented recently. One example is in my state, Medicaid recipients, this is recent news, had their information shared with DHS and Immigrations and Customs Enforcement. And I think about the patients that I helped actually get coverage that was legal and permitted in my state, and thinking that I was helping them. And now, because of this policy change, I'm seeing harm or potential harm being put against them. Those faces are with me right now. Those faces are with me every single time I want to speak up. And that's my why. I hope all of us can find our why as we move forward. In closing, I want to leave you with the words of John Lewis himself. He said, "Do not get lost in a sea of despair. Be hopeful, be optimistic. Our struggle is not the struggle of a day, a week, or a year. It is the struggle of a lifetime. Never, ever be afraid to make some noise and get in good trouble and necessary trouble." So let's make some noise. Let's disrupt the silence. Let's cause some necessary trouble for our patients and for our profession and for the future that we all deserve. Thank you very much.
Woo!
Thank you, Dr.
Yes.
Bill. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, your message really does remind us that policy and our practice, they really are inseparable, and that we as nurses must be involved in both. Thank you. Our next speaker is Dr. Madeline Feliciano Weiser, a leading voice for workforce equity and inclusive leadership in nursing. She'll speak on the nurse workforce and leadership pipeline, protecting our future.
Hello, everyone. Good evening, and thank you for having me on this really, really impressive panel. I'm humbled to be with everyone. And together, I believe that we are going to be the change that we need to see in this country and in this world. Nurses can do it all, and we do. So, my focus has been the lack of diversity in nursing.
Lost you.
Can you hear me? Okay, sorry. The lack of diversity in nursing and nursing leadership. So my argument is kind of like, what comes first, the chicken or the egg, right? Do we have an issue with the diversity in nursing, or is it the lack of diversity in nursing leadership that is the call to action to increase the diversity in nursing? So we know that this relationship has been acknowledged. The relationship in the diversity in nursing has been acknowledged by our major nursing organizations, such as the ANA, the American Association of Colleges of Nursing, and AONL. We also know that nurses have been called to address the health inequities within our communities of color, as well as to tackle the obstacles that we see these communities encounter every day. They have difficulty accessing quality, culturally congruent healthcare. And I stress that, quality, congruent, culturally congruent healthcare. Often as healthcare professionals, it is so easy for us to put a tag on someone as being non-compliant. But have we truly, truly taken the time to meet patients where they are? And that takes understanding who they are as individuals within their own space before we invite them into ours. Currently, there are over 5.5 million registered nurses in the United States, and it is predominantly a white Caucasian profession. However, the greatest health inequities are experienced by our communities of color. And our nursing representation in the workforce is by no means anywhere congruent to the representation that we have in our community. Our nurses, our Hispanic Latinx nurses, are 9.4, less than 10% of the current workforce. About the same are African American. However, when we look at the diversity of the overall country, within the last decade, the multicultural population has grown 276%. And the majority of that growth is being seen in that Hispanic and Latinx community. And I will say, I will die on this hill, that this is the catalyst for the violence that we are seeing specifically targeted within that community. When we see, to Dr. Gill's point, when we see communities of color, specifically my Hispanic and Latinx, brothers and sisters, and I'll throw it out there, this gets me a little emotional. I do not come from a Mexican background. My parents are from Puerto Rico, and I was born and raised in this country. But when I see people being dragged from their workplace, from their children's graduation, from hospitals, because they are, a landscaper, or they show up to their court appointments and are doing it, quote unquote, illegally, I am Mexican. I am Mexican. Because I will take on that charge for my brothers and sisters. So it is that fear that is driving what we are seeing, but it is also our call to action. As nurses, we are to protect and advocate and basically rise up for those individuals that do not have a voice for themselves. For those of you who are not familiar with the NASM Future of Nursing reports, the two of them, both Sentinel reports, call for the nursing workforce to address these health inequities. However, it takes diversity in that workforce. So collectively, we are responsible for mentoring our youth, for mentoring our student nurses, for mentoring our new nurses, for mentoring even our new to practice nurses, not new to practice nurses, but new to leadership nurses or those who are interested. Otherwise, we will never see this disparity disappear. For those of you that are not familiar to the Commission to Address Racism in Nursing, I invite you to please read those. It is very, very interesting reading. However, it is the statistics that are most alarming. 92% of Black African American nurses experience racism in the workforce. And the greatest causative factor of that is nurse leaders. So again, collectively, we have to show up. We have to speak up. We have to advocate. We cannot hide. We have to use our positions wherever we are in order to speak for those who do not have the opportunity to speak for themselves. Most recently in January, we had the new code of ethics. And I think Dr. McCaney, I saw you put that up in the chat. There are specific ones that are ingrained in the nursing profession. Specifically, the one that calls to me is provision 8, that requires nurses to uphold human rights, mitigate health disparities, and achieve health equity. That is our call to action as a profession. We also have to ensure that nurses, as stated in provision 9, we are responsible to advocate for policies and legislation to eliminate social injustices and health inequities. It specifically calls for nursing to challenge racism in all forms. If we choose to refuse to adhere to these code of ethics, we are basically rejecting everything that nursing has ever stood for. So I encourage everyone on this call, everyone that you speak to, everyone that you come in contact, every individual that comes to you and asks you about nursing, to please, please, please ensure that they understand that nursing is much more than just a profession. It is much more than a good salary. It is a moral, ethical, and justice responsibility. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Feliciana Weiser, for your advocacy and your passion in highlighting the urgent need to protect and expand our leadership pipeline. Now we welcome Dr. Ravine Pierce McDaniel, a distinguished nurse educator, historian, and health equity leader. Her topic tonight is centering equity and belonging in healthcare justice work.
Hello, everyone. And I was going to share some slides, but I don't think I need to do that because we started out with that powerful trailer from John Lewis's movie, the movie Good Trouble. So I am going to spare you the boredom of my slides and just jump right in. And I have to tell you that first, I must say I was feeling a bit melancholy speaking on the 5th anniversary of Congressman John Lewis. I don't know if you all know that whenever I was around and his family members were around, I had the opportunity to sneak and call him Uncle Robert because that's what they called him. So I don't think he ever knew I was doing it, but I did. But I did interview him a few weeks before he got his diagnosis about the pancreatic cancer. And but for me, I find solace in knowing that he lived his life fighting for equality and justice. And generally, I celebrate him. I don't celebrate him on July 17th, though this was a little bit for me to embrace because I still truly miss him. And I'm very saddened by him. It was he who told me about my uncle that was marching with him. My uncle used to, well, actually, he's my mother's first cousin, but we call him Uncle Curtis. But anywho, he used to tell us these stories. And as they were playing the clip, I did see him there marching. And it was John Lewis who had to convince me that, yes, indeed, he did march with him. And he's in John Lewis's book. There's a picture of them marching in the book. So I celebrate him on February 21st. And I also celebrate him March 21st through 25th because that is the time that they marched from Selma to Montgomery in 1965. This was after the Bloody Sunday in March 7th. So, and he was so young then. And So speaking today was, again, you know, it reminded me of yesteryear. So please forgive me if I get a little choked up while I'm speaking. I just want us to think about what's going on today. In a world where many feel that we're not moving forward. Nurses are the first to tell you we cannot go back. Nursing is futuristic, and we know that what we did in the past, it might not work today. And I would suffice it to say that health equity is not a static goal. It is fluid and continuous. It's a continuous process of adaptation to individual and society needs, and we cannot afford to go backward. Health equity as we know it is being threatened. Our civil liberties are being stripped away with the stroke of a pen. So please allow me to provide a little bit of history around health equity. So since I proclaim myself to be a somewhat of a historian. Disparities and inequities in this country have a complex history. It involves racism, sexism, ableism, exclusivity, and all other forms of social injustices. And it has had a profound and devastating impact on the historically marginalized communities that, as nurses, we serve. The history of health equity in the United States is linked to civil rights, social justice, and human rights movements. And the concept of health equity really dates back to the 19th century. And guess what, you all? Nurses were there every step of the way. I'm talking about nurses like Martha Minerva Franklin, who founded the National Association of Colored Graduate Nurses in 1908, inspired by Mary Eliza Mahoney. We all know who she is, and anyone who knows me knows she's my girl. But it was due to exclusionary practices from the American Nurses Association. We had nurses like Eileen Ewell and the other 11 Jewels who founded Chi Eta Phi back in 1932. Nurses like Rachel Ism Robinson, the spouse, the wife of baseball great, legendary baseball player Jackie Robinson. Many people don't know she encouraged nurses from the American Nurses Association to attend the March on Washington, D.C. when Reverend Martin Luther King delivered his I Have a Dream speech. And even after the civil rights movement, which primarily was between 1954 and 1968, history will still need to be rewritten that era. Otherwise, the National Black Nurses Association in 1971 wouldn't have had to establish themselves because they felt that health inequities of Black communities were not being addressed. The movement gained momentum in the 1990s for the rights of LGBTQIA and disability communities. And those injustices continue to cause us to struggle for racial justice. And then the 2000s, what happened in the 2000s? It ushered in more racial injustices as we watched the acquittal of George Zimmerman in 2013 for the shooting of Trayvon Martin. That had to sink in, right? Followed by the murders of so many other Black and brown men and women. And so I believe John Lewis said to me, and I think I've heard him say this to others, when he saw the video of George Floyd's death, it made him cry. And he wondered how many more Black men will be murdered. And I promise you, he must be clairvoyant. Because another thing that he told me was he feared for the future of this country. And we are seeing that. When he was recounting what happened on March 7th in 1965 and telling me how he could have died on that bridge, he also said, since arriving in this country, Black people in America have consistently been swept up like rubbish by the hard and unforgiving hand of the law. Laws that are being passed. You understand what I'm saying? Health equity is not supposed to be political, but it is, and it always has been. And I know Congressman Lewis believed that health equity, belonging, and justice were deeply intertwined and rooted in human dignity and the promise of his beloved community. He would always talk about this beloved community. So I want to say a few things that John Lewis has said on the topic of equity during his lifetime. At the 2017 American Public Health Association meeting, he said this: public health means taking care of each and every single person, no matter what their race, religion, their income, or the region that they live in. Many of you know, he continued to say, many of you know that I believe in my heart of hearts that health is a right, not a privilege for a select few. This statement underscores his conviction that health equity is fundamental to justice. He also saw environmental justice as part of health equity when he said we all live when he said that we all should have clean water and that we all should have clean air. He said that's a right, not a privilege. He also spoke about our shared humanity. He said, we all live in the same house, the American house, the world house. And this metaphor champions universal inclusion, where belonging isn't optional, it is essential. And for those of you who do not know, he frequently cited Martin Luther King, the visions of Martin Luther King. He would say, we may have come here on different ships, but we all are in the same boat now. We are one people, one family. He believed in multiracial solidarity and felt that it was foundational to any health justice effort aimed at equity and belonging. So he urged us to get into good trouble, necessary trouble. And he would speak and tell us to speak up. He said, if you see something that's not right, not just, or not fair, please get into trouble, necessary trouble. And he said it requires courageous action in legislation, advocacy, protests, and restructuring systems. So I believe if the late, great John Lewis were speaking to us today, he may say something like this: healthcare is not a luxury. It belongs to us all. No matter what your race, where you were born, how much money you have, your life matters. We are one family sharing one body in one world. So when you see unjust barriers to healthcare, where communities are denied care, are buried underneath pollution, like I see with my work when I'm doing my climate action work, you must get into good trouble. Speak up, speak out, organize, legislate, and protest. That is what he told me. And that is what I believe he will be telling us today. That is how we build his beloved community, right? Where every person belongs, is cared for, and is loved. And until we all have freedom to live healthy, dignified lives, our work will not be done. And I would be remiss if I did not give a shout out to Dr. Danielle McCamey, who founded DNPs of Color. Remember, I told you in the 90s, this is what happened. In the 2000s, this is what happened. Well, guess what? In 2018, Dr. Danielle McCamey founded DNPs of Color, giving underrepresented nurses like me, nurses from historically marginalized and racial and ethnic backgrounds, this platform, you hear me, this platform right here, to use our voices to promote equity and inclusivity. And that is what we're going to do. We're going to march on like John Lewis has asked us to do. We are going to continue his work. His work is never dead. He may not be breathing air on this earth, but his work is never dead. And I have to say this, I'm not trying to advertise here, but I need all of you before September the 4th to read Ketchy Edaduro Anderson's article that she just put out, A Dangerous Lexicon, Academic Complicity in Silencing Social Justice, the Institutional Policy of Language and Threat to Academic Freedom. Because listen, we cannot be silenced. We have a generation of nurses that we have to prepare to be out here taking care of this diverse country that we live in. And so you need to know these things. And with that, I probably don't have any time to yield back, but I do. Thank you so much.
Thank you. That was awesome. Thank you. So I just want to say thank you, Dr. McDaniel, for giving us the history, talking about the intersection, telling us about the devastation, but also the resilience and the advocacy needed, and that health equity is a foundation to justice, and that Congressman Lewis's message can live on in us and the work that we do, and really reminding us that healing and justice are inseparable. So
My pleasure.
You're welcome. So to close out our speaker lineup, we welcome Taylor Page Booker. I think I said that right.
Bork. Totally
Bork.
Okay.
A board certified nurse coach and advocate for healing centered leadership. Her topic tonight is raising voices in nursing, building power and from the ground up.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here. I'm not quite sure how I could follow up on what we just heard because that was absolutely phenomenal, but I'm going to do my best. So hi, everybody. My name is Taylor Page Bork. I am a nurse and advocate for nurses. Just want to thank you for allowing me to have a seat at this incredible table tonight. I'm really thankful to have been tagged in a post recently, and that is how I found Nurses Shift Change. And I'm just so thankful for that. So tonight, I just want to speak to you about something that's deeper than just self-care, which is how I feel like we have been trained to look at wellness. And it's because the truth is nurse wellness is a justice issue. Nurses are trained to care for others, but rarely are we taught to care for ourselves. We stay late, we skip meals, we swallow grief, and we call it resilience. And if we're being honest, this is about survival. And it is our time to rise, and it is our time to stand. It is not a badge of honor that we built on burnout. And we've normalized it for so long that speaking up feels radical. It feels scary. Your fear for your job. And I've been in that situation myself. Every time I've had to stand up, I've been in fear of my job, in leadership specifically. But it's not a radical situation. It's absolutely necessary. We no longer have to be victims to this injustice. We need to be our own heroes, and we need to rise. Because wellness isn't just about bubble baths and breath work. It's really about power. It's about equity, and it's about the right to heal while we're doing the work of healing others. And that's where I want to invoke the words of Congressman John Lewis. And I know we've heard it 100 times tonight, but it's always worth hearing one more time. And I hope that it inspires you. Never, and he once said, so never ever be afraid to make some noise and get into good trouble, necessary trouble. And that is so inspiring to me. On the days where I feel like I don't want to use my voice anymore, I often think of Martin Luther King and his dream. That gets me emotional all the time, because if it wasn't for that dream, the change wouldn't be created. I want to just talk a little bit about the statistics and the reports that I know that you guys know, but 56% of nurses report burnout. 40% are considering leaving the profession entirely. We've seen thousands leave already. This is not an individual problem. This is a systemic crisis. And we have to continue, we can't continue to treat surface solutions. We must be engaged in our policy. We must start to stand and rise for these communities. For those that cannot rise themselves to speak, those that are in fear of rising, it is our responsibility to do that with them and for them. This is about workforce justice. It's about racial and gender equity. It's about building a system where nurses, most of whom are women, but many of whom aren't just expected to absorb the trauma of the world without care, but without pause, without a plan for how they're going to heal themselves. So what does this justice look like? It looks like trauma-informed leadership. It looks like grief support after codes and deaths. It looks like wellness written into policy, not offered as a perk. It looks like nurses having protected time, protected space to allow for the support to restore without feeling guilty for it. I don't claim to have every answer, and I know I don't, but I know that silence has never served us. It has never saved us. And that is why it's time to get into some good trouble for ourselves and for each other and for the future of nursing, for the future of healthcare. Because justice in healthcare won't be real until healing the healer is part of the plan. And I just want to say thank you very much. This was a pleasure to be here tonight, and I cannot wait to continue to stand beside this movement and create some massive shifts.
Wow, that was great. Thank you very much for reminding us that we also have to take care of ourselves, especially when we have movements like this, that we're taking care of patients, we're pouring into them, and then we're fighting for justice, humanity, ethics, social justice, and science. And we have to pour back into ourselves and take care of ourselves. So thank you very much for that.
Yeah, absolutely.
What a night we've had. We've been reminded of our power, our purpose, and our responsibility to act. And I did want to take a minute for you to give the speakers a round of applause. They did a beautiful job. Thank you very much for, just all the great talks.
And just to remind everyone, I know that Dr. McCamey put it in the chat, but there are 3 steps that we invite you all to start doing tonight. And that's, of course, sharing your LinkedIn in the chat so that we can connect, but register to vote and help someone else do the same. Call your lawmakers, urge them to support voting rights and healthcare justice, and of course, join us as we organize for the Million Nurse Rally in May of 2026. One more quote from John Lewis. He also said, "You are a light. Never let anyone, any person, or any force dampen, dim, or diminish your light."
Thank you.
¿Cómo están? Gusto en verlos. No los he visto en 2 semanas. La semana pasada me mandó Cristi que estaban afuera y dije,
all right, thank you. So let's carry the light forward. Let's turn good trouble into lasting change. What John Lewis stood for will never die. So we want you to tag your photos, reflections, use the hashtag Good Trouble Lives On, and also Nurse Shift Change. Follow us on IG, Facebook, LinkedIn, every social media, any social media, just to keep in track, keep on board with our movement, and definitely sign up and register for the Million Nurse March.
Thank you again for joining us tonight. Keep organizing, join us, and our work really does continue. Dr. McCamey, anything else that we missed?
Yeah, I just wanted to see if anyone wanted to step up to the mic and offer some thoughts while we're here. 2 minutes or less. I don't want people to leave here without having the opportunity to step up to the mic. This is a rally. So feel free. I'm looking at Teresa. I'm looking at Danny and Sharon. I'm looking at Lindra. I know Lindra always got a word. And I'm looking at Courtney. Courtney always got a word too. All right, y'all quiet tonight?
No, I'm like doing, I'm in the chat, but I just want to say thank you to everyone who attended. Thank you to all of the speakers. Your messages really resonated, just from everything from the talk about John Lewis to, Taylor, you're like speaking my language when we talk about the burnout and just everything, just really moving forward. And we are getting in trouble, right? This is the movement that we have going here. We're going to get some pushback. I saw some comments that's talking about how when you speak up, but we all said it best. When you're silent, that means that you're complicit. And this is not the time to be silent. We really need to use our voices right now and make sure that we're pushing to the polls, and the flipping the seat. That's what's going to be so important come November. So making sure that we're flipping the seat in November, getting to those polls and encouraging everyone else to get to those polls as well. And that's how we make a difference, and that's how we make our voices heard. So thank you all for attending tonight. Thank you to all the fabulous speakers as well.
Betsy, go ahead and unmute.
Hey, thank you. I'm sorry to not have my camera on. I'm traveling. But I just really want to thank all of the organizers for this. I know that Danielle, Justin, like all of you have been working to rally nursing together. And I think this is a really great moment for us to come together in advocacy and to support each other, as well as our beliefs, values, ethics, all of it. And so I'm just really proud that this, event has happened, and I'm so excited to share and expand, and really hope that we can, gather the troops around us, because when nurses are, there's 5 to 6 million of us, when we come together, we can really make change. And this is really important, and it's our time. So I just wanted to say thank you, and to recognize the importance of this.
Courtney.
Thanks so much, everyone. I'm just struck by really thinking about movement building, and how when we're in our own corners, and when I'm thinking of my day to day and the work that's been going on in state government, how overwhelming when you're facing what is coming down the pike, seeing the suffering that is happening now and what could be coming in the future. And sustained movement building requires joy. So really thinking about what these rallies, this time together cultivates joy. It helps us hold this collective suffering together. That way it's not on any one of us. And so we really need to lean on each other. I'm really grateful for you, Danielle, and the other leaders for cultivating this space, because any one of us are going to get overwhelmed by the gravity of what is happening right now. We can't do this alone. So I'm grateful for this space, and I'm just really looking forward to doing this work with you all. and for cultivating joy together, because that is the potent antidote here. We have to cultivate joy through music and dance and all these other ways that we can celebrate the work that we are doing every single day to try to build toward that better future. So it's not just cause trouble, it's good trouble. And I'm excited to be in this fight with all of you.
Thanks, Court. Anyone else before we close out? Adrian, I see you put your camera on. Thumbs up at work. All
So,
right.
Dr. McCamey,
Yes.
can I just share something that people may not know about Congressman John Robert Lewis? So he always wanted to be a preacher. And I think it was Martin Luther King who gave him the name, the boy from Troy, because he was from Troy, this very rural place, he was from. And I believe that it was Martin Luther King who started saying whenever he would walk in a room, the boy from Troy. Well, he always wanted to be a preacher. And so their family had these chickens. And he would go out every day and preach to those chickens every day. And he would tell this story. And I think some of them really, they were nodding like this. So I think some of them really, really were listening to me and they were appreciating what I was saying. So it's like the little things that he used to share, these little stories that were kind of humorous, but also it spoke of the person that he was equipping himself to become, right? So he did his public speaking in front of those chickens. And so he wasn't afraid when it was time for him to come. So the moral of the story is, don't wait for that special moment for you to be to learn how to speak out and how to get in front of people and talk. It might just be chickens, you never know. So I don't tell jokes good, so but I just wanted to share something personal about him with you.
We appreciate that.
Dr. McCamey, if I can just say one thing, we need to stop falling into the trap of listening to the narrative that people, even within our communities, are setting for us. And so we need to, if there's ever a time to block out the nonsense, it is now. We must collectively come together. Forget about the checkbox that other people created for us to count us in a certain type of lot or whatever, or number or whatever. Now is the time for everyone to say, I am one with my brother and sister standing next to me, regardless of the color of their skin, their immigration status, their ethnicity, their sexual preference, their religion. It is now the time to put all of that aside so that we can, as this movement demonstrates, move forward. We got time for all that nonsense later, right? I mean, I don't cook my chicken that way. It's not, it's not habichuelas, it's frijoles type of conversation. But now is the time for us to silence all of that nonsense and get on the same page to do this work.
All right. Last call to get to the mic. We appreciate y'all staying this late. It's 9:50 Eastern Standard Time. I did put our playlist in the chat, so if there's some songs that we missed on there, we're happy to add them, but I'm going to pass the mic back over to our co-host Celia and Gloria to close us out.
Well, that's just to say goodnight. Good night, everyone. Thank you.
Bye,
We'll see
y'all.
you
Thanks for
soon.
coming
We'll
out.
see you soon. Bye-bye.
Good night.
Good night,
night,
everyone.
Good night.